It is not wisdom, but authority that makes a law. Without craftsmanship, inspiration is a mere reed shaken in the wind. Bravery is being the only one who knows you're afraid. That's the positive aspect of trade, I suppose. The world gets stirred up together. Mysticism is the mistake of an accidental and individual symbol for a universal one. It was luxuries like air conditioning that brought down the Roman Empire. With air conditioning, their windows were shut. They couldn't hear the barbarians coming. It is equally important to have a happy and engaged workforce as it is to have a profitable bottom line. Divide and rule, a sound motto. Unite and lead, a better one. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. Man suffers only because he takes seriously what the gods made for fun. I've lived through some terrible things in my life, some of which actually happened. People who cannot find time for recreation are sooner or later to find time for illness. If it's natural to kill, how come men have to go into training to learn how? Defense is superior to opulence. It's all papers and forms. The entire civil service is like a fortress made of papers, forms, and red tape. The Navy has both a tradition and a future, and we look with pride and confidence in both directions. With the advance of feudalism came the growth of iron armor, until, at last, a fighting man resembled an armadillo. Being a mercenary, though, hey, we just go wherever there's a mixture of money and trouble. You can't go around arresting the Thieves' Guild. I mean, we'd be at it all day. There are very honest people who do not think that they have had a bargain unless they have cheated a merchant. I conclude then this point touching upon the power of kings with this axiom of divinity, that is, to dispute what God may do is blasphemy, so it is sedition to dispute what a king may do. I don't like to commit myself about heaven and hell. You see, I have friends in both places. The day we stop exploring is the day we commit ourselves to live in a stagnant world, devoid of curiosity, empty of dreams. In diplomacy, there are two kinds of problems, small ones and large ones. The small ones will go away by themselves, and the large ones you will not be able to do anything about. The four characteristics of humanism are curiosity, a free mind, belief in good taste, and belief in the human race. In a market economy, however, the individual has some possibility of escaping from the power of the state. Colonialism, the enforced spread of the rule of reason. But who is going to spread it among the colonizers? A common mistake that people make when trying to design something completely foolproof is to underestimate the ingenuity of complete fools. Whatever is contrary to nature is contrary to reason, and whatsoever is contrary to reason is absurd. Ballet projects a fragile kind of strength and a certain inflexible precision. It is nationalism which engenders nations, and not the other way round. It's the Industrial Revolution and the growth of urban concentrations that led to a sense of anonymity. I only understand friendship, or scorched earth. In all works on natural history, we constantly find details of the marvelous adaptation of animals to their food, their habits, and the localities in which they are found. Water and air, the two essentials on which life depends, have become global garbage cans. The effect of the mass media is not to elicit belief, but to maintain the apparatus of addiction. The inherent vice of capitalism is the unequal sharing of blessings. The inherent virtue of socialism is the equal sharing of miseries. When they are preparing for war, those who rule by force speak most copiously about peace until they have completed the mobilization process. It has been demonstrated that no system, not even the most inhuman, can continue to exist without an ideology. The children of the nuclear age, I think, were weakened in their capacity to love. Hard to love when you're bracing yourself for impact. The class struggle necessarily leads to the dictatorship of the proletariat. The Cold War is not thawing. It is burning with a deadly heat. You don't stumble upon your heritage. It's there, just waiting to be explored and shared. Why is a woman to be treated differently? Women's suffrage will succeed, despite this miserable guerrilla opposition. If winning isn't everything, why do they keep score? A good plan violently executed right now is far better than a perfect plan executed next week. Only the mob and the elite can be attracted by the momentum of totalitarianism itself. The masses have to be won by propaganda. NASA spent millions of dollars inventing the ballpoint pen so they could write in space. The Russians took a pencil. Which of all my important nothings shall I tell you first? It has been said that arguing against globalization is like arguing against the laws of gravity. You can never plan the future by the past. I never think of the future. It comes soon enough.